Hello and welcome once again to the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secret Show, where we investigate all forms of magic, and we're on a roll talking about the tarot. And this is the part 2 of a 2-part video. It wasn't originally supposed to be a part 2 video, but there are things that I didn't mention that occurred to me, and it's best to start on a fresh train of thought. So 3 things that are going to help with tarot that we have to discuss for sure. First off, talking about reversed cards, okay? It's important, okay, to have reversed cards. And let me tell you why. First, I would highly advise against this really simplified idea that if the tarot card is upside down, therefore it's like the negative evil version of whatever the right side up would be. As if it has to be a dark outcome that's whatever. And it's not like a healthy productive way of really doing tarot. It's a really simpleton way of doing it, and that's part of the superstition of the cards. It's that idea rests with a lot of people, but again, you have to realize that every single tarot card you draw is a lucky card. And the idea here is that if the card is upside down, it means the glass is half full. If the card is right side up, it means the glass is fully full. And the thing that you have to understand is that you still have a glass of water in front of you. If the card is upside down, that just means it needs improvement, or it isn't quite as strong as it could be. It's a trajectory. It doesn't mean this negative, awful, horrible thing. And and that's jumping to different extremes. So I wanted to put that out there. When you read cards, go from that standpoint. Also, one of the big tricks of tarot that you don't really want to tell the client, but I'm going to tell you because you're listening to the Free Magic Show. The thing is that there's 78 cards in a deck, and each one represents something that's always actively happening all the time. It doesn't matter if you draw a card that directs your attention to some area of life. That area of life is always going on. So, what's I can't believe the card told me that, or the card knew that. Well, every single card, it's happening all the time. So you just keep that in mind, right? Let people get lost in the fantasy of how could you possibly know that? Because it helps loosen them up and puts the intrigue on it. And it's fun like that, pulling on people's strings. But the truth is that, like I said, they're all actively happening all the time. And also talking about when you do tarot based on the Tree of Life. The suit cards, the 1 through 10, are the Sephiroth. The bubbles on the Tree of Life, there's little spheres there. And there's some people that are okay, well, if it's turned upside down, that would mean the Qliphothic realm. And then if it's right side up, it would mean, the Tree of Life. But that's not a good way to do it either, because it's just assuming that there are only these 2 options. It doesn't work like that. You have to understand that don't jump to the cliff off when it's upside down if you want to play that game. What you have to understand is that each of the Sephiroth is a particular emanation, and it stands for a certain kind of power of the universe, or a power of the psyche, or a faculty of the human existence, in the human mind, and the consciousness, and all this. And you have to understand that the Sephiroth, even though it's holy, it's a power, and a power has its own heaviness to it. So for instance, the Martian energy, you need that Martian, Mars's war sort of aggressive energy, because part of your survival instincts. But when it can go to a dark place. See, when it turns to outright murder and madness and shit, that's when it enters the Qliphothic realms. Because you have to understand also, to the Qliphothic realms, this shadow tree, it in order for something to be holy, something must be unholy. But in the instance of the Tree of Life, for it to be the shadow side, It's that which doesn't make sense. It's that which is like inhumane. It is that which is contrary to our instincts. It is that which is contrary to our evolution. It's that which is backwards thinking with your head in the sand. I mean, that's what if you don't know, the upside down pentagram became popularized by Eliphas Levi in the mid 1800s, like around, and I forget which book it's in. I'm pretty sure it's in Doctrine and Ritual. It might be in the Book of Splendors. I forget. But somewhere in one of his books, he talks about the upside down pentagram and about what it means is that you're just a shitty magician. It means that instead of having your head like a normal pentagram or pentacle, however you want to call it, in a normal pentagram, the two pointed stars are at the bottom, and it symbolizes the microcosm. It symbolizes the man inside the pentagram. And the top point of the pentagram is the head. In the lower realms, it's like man in control of the elements and in control of like the universe, creator of his own universe. And when it's upside down, it means your head is in the sand and in the mud, and reason and logic have left you, and now you are a puppet to the forces of madness and darkness and savage nature. So just understand, the upside down pentagram, it just means you're a shitty magician and you don't know what you're doing. And years and years and years went by, and it was, it's the demonic sign. And people forgot that, what that meant. And it just got jumbled up in the myth of it. And then later on, of course, gets picked up by the Church of Satan, various different groups who use it as a symbol. And that's all fine and dandy. It's all part of mythology, and someone made up all this shit anyway. So take that what you will. So understand that part. Now, talking about qliphothic tarot, such a thing is possible, right? But the only way that it really works is this: if you have to like do the four worlds technique, where I talk about in the last video about how each Sephiroth is basically like a filing cabinet. And you pull it out, and there's four compartments. And the first layer is physical realm. Next layer is angelic realm. Then archangelic realm. And then God's pure channel. Now, the problem with the qliphoth is that we don't have any distinct bedrock texts that definitively say, here are the demons and here are the archdemons. Like for all the paths and for all the layers of the Sephiroth. Like we know what the archdemons are for the Sephiroth, but we don't have a definitive list for all the connecting paths. So it's like there's really no known way to like truly, because when you talk about the tree of life, all that's been plotted out. Like you don't have to go very far and you'll find it. And all you got to do is research that. But and again, for the qliphoth, when you talk about the 10 husks, right? They have archdemons associated to them, which are known and they appear, like such, Belphegor and Thagirion and Miss Lil there and Gamaliel and etc. So those there, that list is coming from Cornelius Agrippa. And that list is in the 3 books of occult philosophy, and you'll find it in the section talking about the Sephiroth. There's no qliphoth section in 3 books of occult philosophy. It lists the Sephiroth, and then as like an appendix thing, it like also lists the archdemon of the husk, or whatever. So that's what's been perpetuated over and over and over and over. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was it's going to come back to me in 2 seconds here. I'm going to have to pause it. Hold on. So also be wary that the most bunk tarot system you're going to run across, and a lot of people are going to get pissed at me for saying this, but it's the truth. Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot deck. And now, while they are beautifully illustrated, I'll give them that. The problem with these cards is that Crowley basically took the Tree of Life, he reinterpreted it and interjected a bunch of his own shit into it, and made it basically his own Frankenstein's monster of his own vision, of his own magical quest, which ties into the whole wacky thing where, you know, this information is being channeled essentially by his holy guardian angel. And Aleister Crowley is just a big canned ham, and he's just a madman lost in his own fantasy. And like, you really need to learn what you need to learn from him and then kind of move on. Like, do not actually follow him. So it's like, he basically, you know, I don't need to go on a rant about him forever, but you should know what the deal is. I mean, he kind of just wandered into like the Golden Dawn and all these groups, stole all their shit, and then said, now I'm the boss hog of my own religion based on all this like magic stuff that we've been learning. And he basically just warped it to his own specifications. And since he was a hog for getting press and was able to like market himself as, I don't know, like what Marilyn Manson was in the 90s or something, you know, he was the shock rock guy, and he became like the shock rock guy of his era, and then always the magic guy. So therefore what he's saying must be holy, like holy scripture. So he's bunk, and so are his cards, and so is his whole tarot thing. So do not learn Kabbalah from this guy. Do not, like, his whole 777 book on Kabbalah is just, it's a fucking big old mess. Big old mess that stinks like shite. And you should totally, like, get away from that. So I just wanted to state that. And I'm going to pause it once again, but I do believe I covered all the main points that I missed in the last video. Hopefully I can think of something else. If not, I'll just come back on here and wrap it up. All right, hold on. So before I go, another thing I need to talk about that I forgot on the last video is Israel Regardie's A Garden of Pomegranates. And also Israel Regardie's book, The Tree of Life, the illustrated history of the Tree of Life, because it's way more interesting to see all the illustrations and whatnot. So Garden of Pomegranates is Regardie's like book on the Tree of Life, about the Sephiroth, about the past. It's your best all-in-one compendium of trying to like figure all this out. Now there's a new volume of it that came out that's edited by someone named Chicxisaro, and that they added like this whole section about visualizing the past, and that's kind of corny, and you shouldn't fall for don't like that whole like added on end. I don't know what Israel Regardie would actually say, like if he actually read that was stuck at the end of his book. He was friends with them in real life, but yeah, so it's some corny shit. But that book is going to tell you everything you need, all about like the number magic, all about the expansion, about the different levels of the soul. When you talk about YHVH in tarot, that's another thing to understand, is that the court cards represent the name YHVH, right? And that's the name of, the creator, the name of God or whatever, the tetragrammaton. All right. So when you see it spelled YHWH and they're talking about Kabbalah with a K, it's straight up Jewish version of Tree of Life. When you're talking about Tree of Life with a Q, that's like hermetic, magical, occult Tree of Life. It's something of a Frankenstein's monster in and of itself, but it's okay because it works. It's one of the most beautiful little things we've ever had. So, Regardie's a Jewish guy, and he's pushing Kabbalah with a Q. And you're going to get everything you need out of his one book. So to state that for sure. Now, talking about also tarot books, like most of the tarot books I just throw out. Anything that tells you, like, here's the definitive meaning, and they don't really describe why. And if tarot isn't based on like a solid foundation, you're just like adrift at sea. And clinging to the Kabbalistic lore is going to give you the framework that you need, because that's why I got involved in tarot in the first place, was that I always thought tarot cards were cool and interesting, but nobody could ever explain like why it is the way it is or why the answers are. They're just looking at the booklet that comes with the cards. And no one ever once sat me down and explained like what the Tree of Life really was or how it worked or any of this stuff. What had happened was, like, in researching the tarot cards and trying to get to the bottom of it, I stumbled onto the true path of ceremonial magic. Because before all this, I was basically just a witch. If people ask me, I just tell them, I practice witchcraft. I'm one of those people. I'm just a straight up humble witch. I would never call myself a magician. But I stumbled onto the path of the magician from my own research, and I was floored, and I got lost. Once you start studying the Kabbalah, or the Tree of Life specifically, you get lost in it, and this just led off to my path, and now I'm a completely different person, all because of it. So, you know, tarot cards impacted my life in all kinds of wild ways that I don't even know how to begin to explain to you. Like, if you know, you're just stumbling on this video and you barely know much about them at all, and they're just like a foreign concept to you, or you've just played with them just a little bit, I mean, you have to understand the breadth of knowledge that comes when you totally like fuse to all these ideas. So, I mean, you want to be a magician, you want to like go to the next step. But so you should know that like this magician shit, the idea is that it's promoting a union with the Godhead, a mystical experience of the Godhead. It's a total gnosis with the universe and total gnosis with whatever created the universe. And like I said, if you see YHVH and what we were getting to in the first place before I went on a tangent, I was talking about the court cards, okay? So the court cards stand for the YHVH or the YHWH, which is like an abbreviation for Yahweh or Jehovah. When you look at the Tree of Life, you got the 10 bubbles, right? The Sephiroth, the number 2, the number 3, the number 6, number 10, right? Number 2 is the night, and that's the first Y. The second H is in bubble number 3, which is like the sphere of the Sephiroth of Saturn, and that's where the Queen goes. And then the V is where the King goes, and that's in this place of the Sun. That's number 6. And then the final H is where the Earth is, and the Sephiroth, and that's like the page or the princess. So the way that works is the name, the 4-letter name of God, YHVH or YHWH, is just endlessly repeated over and over. The number 4 is endless repeatedly over and over. There's like 4 worlds, and you know, there's a lot of 4s over and over and over. So part of the 4 is like when you break down the tree, there's like 4 quadrants, and they represent 4 different layers of the human soul. And when we use the suits, not only do they depict the 4 worlds, like the 4 layers, like I said, in the Sephiroth, they also represent the 4 different layers of the soul, or can, fused to, they're all like Jewish names. There's like the physical plane, and then, you know, I'm not the best one to speak of it. But if you get Israel Regardie's book, A Garden of Pomegranates, he lays it all out, like the 4 layers of the soul. So the 4 layers of the soul, and it's like an expansive ascending pathway towards a mystical experience. And the court cards represent those 4 different like layers of the soul, basically. And when you overlay them on the Tree of Life, they're like really like solid energy blocks. Like one is like the highest male energy, the other one is the highest female energy. The King is the harmonizing force in the middle, the middle of the giant electrical current that's being generated within the tree itself, and then the H is the final like product of the whole system. So again, it's just the number 4 repeating itself over and over in a whole bunch of different ways. And you really need to study this to like see it, because I can think of it in terms of graphs and charts and all this. I'm not the best at speaking it. So, yeah, that much said, I think that's pretty much every last thing I wanted to add about tarot at this point. If I'm leaving anything out, I do apologize. So that much said, yes, thanks once again for stopping by the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secrets show. Hit the subscribe button and let people know I exist. When you're at the bar talking to your friends, pull out your phone and be like, hey, here's this dude. Like, magical people, the right magical people, nonetheless. Because this isn't a channel for everyone. It's just a channel for the select few. And you got to be a special character to understand this one. So, yeah, yakety smackety. More episodes in the future. And hail Arkham. And here's your hot rockin' outro. Later, kids. I think I'm losing control. I think I'm losing control. I think I'm losing control.